Hello and welcome to a new edition of the Daily Scope, your guide to what's headlining newspapers in the world today. I'm your host, Karim Abdul Samad, and with me in the studio is the president of the Lebanese Peace Party, Mr. Roger Edde. Mr. Roger, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you.
Now, before we start our journey, let's look at the global events that occurred over the past 24 hours through this short report narrated by Marion Holmberg.
Iraqi lawmakers passed a new election law on Monday after weeks of debate, paving the way for polls to be held next year and allaying fears that they would be delayed due to deteriorating security. Vice President Qudayr al-Khuzay issued a decree on Monday, setting April 30th as the date for the parliamentary election. Tunisia's ruling Islamist and opposition party suspended talks on Monday over forming a new caretaker government to end the country's crisis after the two sides failed to agree on naming a prime minister. Tunisia's Islamist-led government has agreed to step down later this month to make way for a temporary administration that will govern until elections. But the two sides remain deeply split over details of their agreement. A Palestinian detainee has reportedly died on Tuesday in a hospital in the West Bank city of Nablus as a result of medical neglect while in Israeli detention. Disorder in Majdo prison has been reported as both the Gaza government and the Islamic Jihad held the Israeli occupation forces responsible. Tens of thousands of Iranians held demonstrations on Monday across the country to mark the 34th anniversary of the seizure of the United States Embassy in the capital city of Tehran. The occasion this year has attracted the attention of the world, as it coincides with the attempts inside and outside the country to ease tensions between the two states. In his first public appearance at a police academy in eastern New Cairo, 4 months after the Egyptian military toppled President Mohamed Morsi, an Egyptian court decided on Monday that his trial over charges of murdering protesters during his one-year rule will be postponed until January 8, 2014. The decision came after the defendants began chanting slogans against the army.
Viewers, welcome back, and now let's start our tour with what's headlining newspapers in the Middle East. First off, from Egypt's Al-Ahram, first session in Morsi's trial passes without major clashes. And from Saudi Arabia's Arab News, Kingdom US agreed Assad should have no role. And from Turkey's Hurriyet Daily, EU-Turkey in talks for membership. And from Iran Daily, ralliers support Rouhani's diplomacy, call for lifting sanctions. And from UAE's The National, Kerry dismisses talk of rift with Saudi Arabia. And our first article for today comes from Lebanon's Al-Akhbar, titled, Morsi on the stand, this court is illegal. Egypt's deposed President Mohamed Morsi appears in court Monday on the first day of his trial, rejecting its legitimacy and demand coup leaders be prosecuted as thousands of his supporters rallied. I am Dr. Mohamed Morsi, the President of the Republic. This court is illegal, Morsi told the opening hearing of his trial. The Islamist leader slammed his overthrow by the army on July 3rd after mass protests against his single year of turbulent rule. This was a military coup. The leaders of the coup should be tried. A coup is treason and a crime, he said. As he walked down, two of his co-defendants, senior Muslim Brotherhood leaders Issam al-Aryan and Mohammed al-Baltaji, chanted, "Down with military rule," the hearing, and applauded Morsi. Morsi's trial is a farce. The criminals are trying the legitimate president, said one of them, Ibrahim Abdul Samad. Morsi, who the army had held at a secret location since his ouster, is accused along with other 14 of inciting the murder of protesters outside the presidential palace in December 2012. The trial, which was adjourned to January 8th, is seen as a test for Egypt's new authorities, who have come under fire for their heavy-handedness. So now let's start off with today's show with Syria. Saudi Arabia and the U.S. agree that President Bashar al-Assad should not have a role in the Geneva II conference. Now, in your opinion, what is the reasoning behind this, and why is Saudi Arabia taking sides with the U.S. instead of a fellow Arabian Muslim country?
First, there is no secrets in that. The truth is that one of the three reasons, President Obama decided at the last minute to change his mind about hitting Syria on the end of September,
yes,
was a communication by an international diplomatic channel. I heard it may be the Vatican, telling the president to stop it because President Assad is prepared to accept the conditions of gathering the Geneva II conference. The first condition for that gathering is what was already in the Geneva I conference, which is for President Assad to accept that all the prerogative he has as a president are transferred to a government of transition.
Yes.
This is diplomatic. I don't think, in fact, that the Saudi and the Americans look eye into eye on how to deal with Syria. I don't think, to be honest also with you, that the meeting were truly successful. Secretary Kerry, who is very surprisingly one of the most competent men in the administration when it comes to geostrategic issues and to international relations,
yes,
was a not so competent president or interested president, yes, in international relations, is trying to maintain a relation that has been established 70 years ago by King Abdulaziz in an historical meeting, yes, with FDR. I don't think that relation will in any way be as relevant in the future as it has been in the past for a simple reason. One is the need of oil of the United States of America has become obsolete.
Of course.
The capacity of Saudi Arabia to influence the price of oil has been more limited. Oil and gas has, yes, been more limited. Yet Saudi Arabia is an historical ally. America considers Saudi Arabia as the #1 ally in the Arab Muslim Sunni world.
Yes.
It considers Saudi Arabia as very influential because it was able to help in the coup against the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt,
yes,
which has in fact put on their knees and stopped the dynamic of Islamic Brotherhood taking over the so-called Arab Spring. For these reasons and for other reasons, the United States of America will always maintain the best possible relationship with Saudi Arabia, but not anymore a relation that is vital.
Yes.
As it used to be the case historically. And if we want to ask ourselves a question on that issue, the economic strategic issue, let's ask ourselves why Iraq, which was supposed to be at 10 million barrels of production today, is not producing more than it was producing when Saddam Hussein did fall. That means 2.5 million to 3 million barrels of oil. There are always reasons why things happen or don't happen that have an economical background.
Yes.
And I think there is something related to economics here. America is not anymore in need of oil and gas. It's becoming now self-sufficient and very soon exporter.
Yes, definitely. Well, let's take the case where the talks happen without President Bashar al-Assad being present. How will this impact the talks, and what will be the impact on the situation in Syria itself?
You see, the problem is Saudi Arabia has a means using what is called and what is known today as the low-intensity war to prevent any plan agreed by the Americans or Europeans or any other players, or even in a deal between Iran and the United States,
yes,
to be implemented on the ground. This is why we need to look again at the Middle East as being co-managed in confrontation and in reconciliation,
yes,
between two competing powers. Saudi Arabia from one side, Iran from the other side.
Okay.
A rapprochement between Iran and the United States of America. Negotiation has been going on over there for a long period of time. I don't think they have ever stopped, to be honest.
Okay.
Ever stopped. Every CENTCOM general has had a relationship with Iran, and not only Petraeus, his predecessors also.
Yes.
While trying to talk and to resolve little problems, we remain enemies. We remain enemies, but we talk.
Of course.
Iran is geostrategically a very valuable asset in the balance of power in the world of Islam.
Yes. Now we're going to be talking about Iran, and we're going to be talking about Iran in a bit. I would just like to get your view on what would happen in Syria, on the ground in Syria, if President Bashar al-Assad does not partake in the Geneva II talks.
I don't think he is relevant anymore, to be honest with you.
Okay, what's the reason?
What is relevant now is what's going on between the US and Iran. If there are steps that are concrete, where negotiation reach somewhere, and to those negotiations to reach, it's not, the problem is not President Rouhani. President Rouhani understands very well. He has even on hand a draft of agreement on the issue of nuclear and on the issue of the Iran role in the area and non-exporting any more revolution to its neighbors.
Yes.
That agreement, that draft of agreement was already available by January 2005.
Yes.
And he was conducting those negotiations. He's a highly sophisticated man. The issue is what the Khamenei, the man who called the shots at the highest level, and who has also a strong military and economical base that is not dependent of the president or his government.
Okay.
Would he make the decision now on the edge of war? Because the timing for war with Iran is between 3 months to 6 months, according to what we are hearing.
Okay. So you mentioned something about a war over here. Under what conditions would that war happen?
Israel will take the initiative and create a de facto confrontation that will force America to interfere.
Okay. So we're looking at basically, once again, Israel having the main say in the region.
Israel is a player because Israel is a major power player. You see, in diplomacy, you have no sentiments. You have relation of power. If
Yes.
they are military or economic, they are relations of power. The Israeli would love to see an agreement being reached between Iran and the US.
Okay.
As long as this agreement resolves one problem for them,
Okay, I would like
nuclear,
to... Yes.
like in Syria, chemical. The Israelis are tactical and they know very well what they want.
Yes, well...
They don't care about the
Sorry,
rest.
Mr. Rashid, we'll be talking about Israel in a bit. I would just like to know very, very briefly from you. As we saw, the deposed Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi had his first trial today. And the court adjourned with the postponing of the second hearing till the 8th of January. And that only took like about 30 minutes. The trial actually literally took about 30 minutes. What can you tell us about this, and why was the hearing postponed exactly?
In my opinion, first, every president can always say that the tribunal is not legitimate to judge him. And
Yes.
this happened to every president, Saddam Hussein, Milosevic, Mubarak, and now Morsi. Yet, Morsi may have a procedure
Yes.
advantage and point. Because he's accused of being the instigator. But the people who actually did the crime he's accused of instigating
Yes.
have not been arrested.
True. Sorry,
And
Mr. Rajid.
that probably will play on his favor.
Definitely. Well, sorry, Mr. Rajid, I'm going to have to cut you short over here. We're going to have to move to our second region. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's travel to the Israeli entity. First off, starting with the Haaretz. U.S. to propose Israel-Palestinian peace plan if January talks remain stalled. And from the Jerusalem Post, ahead of Kerry visit Jerusalem and PA trade barbs on peace process. And from the Yedot Ahranot, behind the scenes of peace talks. Okay, now for once we see that Prime Minister John Kerry is threatening Israel to allow the Palestinian Authority into the International Criminal Court if the Justice Minister and the Attorney Moloko don't get to mutual terms within each other. Now, this means that even within the Israeli entity's government, there are clashes over what should be done. Now, what can you tell us about this threat and how will it impact the talks?
I don't think the threat is really serious, to be honest with you. But it is important for America to show its Arab allies and the international community, especially President Obama, who has gotten the Nobel Peace Prize,
Yes.
that they are putting pressure on Israel seriously to stop at least settlements and to allow for negotiations to happen.
Yes.
One of the issues raised by His Royal Highness Prince Saud al-Faisal with Secretary Kerry was that issue. Because there were many issues, not only the Syrian issue between Saudi Arabia and the United States of America.
Oh, of course,
but one of those issues is that issue. That issue, in fact, plays against the United States of America because the Saudi, by raising again that issue, the issue of non-advancing whatsoever on the peace talk since 2002,
Yes.
since King Abdullah proposed in the summit of Beirut to recognize Israel against peace and land and the 67, etc., 242, 338, what have you. And nothing happened since 2002. We are in 2013.
Of course.
The U.S. has not shown, especially this administration, any interest in advancing any issue in the Middle East. They are only managing crisis. The President Obama, may be incompetent, as many are pretending in America, to deal with geostrategic issues or with Congress. But the truth is that he may be not interested.
Okay.
His priorities went to Asia, and even in Asia, he's not so interested. With one problem, he did not even go to the last summit in Asia.
Yes. Well,
the Philippines.
the U.S. is to propose a Israeli-Palestinian peace plan in January if talks remain to be stalled. In your opinion, what will the U.S. propose, and how will it impact the talks, and how will it impact people in both countries?
It will be irrelevant. I don't think this administration has the credibility to face Congress, and Congress would not help in any pressure against Israel.
Okay.
I don't think this administration wants really to do something to increase the crisis that is boiling between also Israel and the Obama administration. This administration needs to accomplish one thing: reconcile with Iran. There is a chance for reconciliation with Iran. They think that the overwhelming election of Rouhani, who did better than General de Gaulle the man who embodied France in an election by winning in the first round in a democratic election, they think that the leadership that is above Rouhani may be compromising to save first politically, economically, also the role of Iran as a regional power, not only toward the Middle East, but also toward Southeast Asia.
Yes. Okay, well, viewers, now let's travel from the Israeli entity all the way to Europe. Starting off with the Spiegel. Codependent, Merkel's pragmatic approach to the NSA scandal. And from Greece's Catherine Marini, Athens braces for tough talks. Government insists no further cuts on agenda as Troika to discuss fiscal gap and reform progress. And from UK's The Daily Telegraph, Cameron, we can win the case for staying in Europe. So, Mr. Rogier, we see that Chancellor Merkel's phone has been tapped by the NSA about less than 10 days ago.
Surprise.
Yes, and she isn't too happy about it. Yet, at the same time, she's not taking any action towards us whatsoever. What is the reason behind her not taking any actions, i.e. imposing sanctions and etc. and whatnot?
Because the German intelligence, as the Vatican intelligence, are often more efficient and more active everywhere, including in America, than the American intelligence in
other countries
in Europe. Mrs. Merkel, probably she's of interest to the U.S. policy making, but only on a routine base.
Yes.
Because Germany, first, there is a base, military base, still in American base in Germany, and the Germans insist to keep the Americans militarily in Germany.
Yes.
One thing. Second, Germany is a place where policies are made with economics.
Yes.
That means spying can be economic-political spying. And there is rivalries even among Western countries and among brothers when it comes to business. Anyway, we have seen WikiLeaks before seeing that. And we have seen that many people who were, who felt bad about something said about them or done toward them, by the end, the pragmatism of international diplomatic relation prevails.
Yes. Okay, well, still in Europe, I would like to ask a small question here. Prime Minister David Cameron claims that they can win the case for staying in Europe. Now, whether the UK stays within the EU or not, or is fully integrated within the EU or not, has a huge question mark. Now, how will this impact the EU politically and financially, and how will it impact the UK politically and financially if the UK fully joins the European Union here?
Well, the UK is a full member of the EU.
But then they're not really using the euro, they're still using
the euro is the problem of Europe, and they are happy not to use it. Maybe others may get free from the euro. Euro has been the tool of Germany to dominate Europe after having lost two World War I and World War II, without being able to control Europe.
Okay.
And expect always the British, who are non-continental, to stand to the Germans when it comes to exercising power through economics, when they are not exercising it through military power.
Okay.
Now, what's happening in Europe is that there is a revolt, even in
so can we keep this very brief, because we can just
France and Germany. There is a revolt toward more integration.
Yes.
The concept of General de Gaulle again, l'Europe des nations, the Europe of nations, is what is now more in the thinking of the mainstream thinkers in Europe.
Yes. Okay, well, viewers, now we're going to go for a short break and we'll be right back.
Evening. Women's rights redefined.
Viewers, welcome back, and now let's travel from Asia all the way around the world to Asia. Now, starting off with the Pakistan dawn, Cabinet holds special meeting. Government firm on negotiations with Taliban. And from Pakistan National Herald Tribune, Pakistan facing internal and external challenges. Army exhibits anti-drone technology in AZM-E NAU-4. And once again from Pakistan's The Nation, Imran sets November 20 deadline on drones. Asks government to stop strike or PTI will. And this region's article is from China.org titled U.S. Drone Strike Undermines Pakistan's Peace Talks. Americans are celebrating the killing of a high-value target, Hakimullah Mahsood, leader of the Pakistani Taliban, in a drone strike in northwestern Pakistan. The New York Times has called it a signal in chief of covert CIA program. The Pakistani government reacted and protested strongly. It denounced the killing of Mahsood as a U.S. bid to derail planned peace talks. The U.S. drone strike that killed Mahsood took place on November 1st, just one day before the peace talks were scheduled to begin. Just last week, Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who strongly opposes the drone strikes, met with President Barack Obama at the White House. Obama apparently did not take his protest seriously. Would any U.S. leader ever take his junior partner seriously? As the Pakistani Taliban vows to revenge Mahsood's death, Pakistani authorities have heightened the security alerts. Killing never resolves an issue. If anything, it only destabilizes the situation. So basically this region's top story is the drone strike that killed the Taliban leader. So basically, and that happened basically a day before the peace talks that were about to begin. To start with, what do you think is the reasoning behind this?
Well, first, there is no reasoning. It's a strategy. That is, you see, you should read, and my listeners should read, a coming up book, Double Down.
Yes.
Double Down tells you a lot of insights about the president thinking.
Yes.
In Double Down, they tell you about the president bragging that it's true that he is withdrawing formally from everywhere he can withdraw his soldiers, but he has been killing more than any other president in history when it comes to enemies. He's bragging about it.
Yes.
I mean, let's forget about the drones not to be used anymore to hunt enemies. Now, when it comes to the Pakistanis, the Americans deal with Pakistan with a lot of wariness.
Yes.
They think that Pakistan is maybe a bigger problem than Iran.
Okay. And what do you think, in your opinion, is the reason behind this?
The reason behind it is the Islamist movement.
Okay.
In the intelligence community and in the army. It is the extremism and the fear that at a certain point things can go really wrong in the area.
Yes.
And involve a war. Maybe the nuclear won't be used, but a war where big casualties can become the major problem. I don't think it is serious when it comes to the Pakistani complaining.
Okay.
It's true that the killing of Masoud undermines to a certain extent the negotiations with the Taliban. It gives the impression that they are not serious about negotiating with the Taliban, with the Americans playing in the back different kind of games. But the American policy is to decouple their relationship with any country that they have good relationship with.
Yes.
And dealing with organizations that have been listed and authorized to be killed.
Okay. So
remember, they cannot kill without a presidential waiver.
Of course, definitely.
Any leader cannot be killed without the president signing on it. That's since Richard Nixon.
Okay. Very, very briefly, we've also heard that Imran Khan, the head of the PTI, says that if drone strikes do not stop by November 20th, they will take matters into their own hands. Very, very briefly, what do you foresee happening here, and how will it impact the peace talks? Just very, very briefly.
The empty threats. I don't think they will impact the peace talks. Peace talks are always good if there is a good balance of power. There is no talks in the first place.
Yes.
If there is nothing to negotiate.
Okay. All right. Now, viewers, let's travel all the way to Africa. Starting off with the Tunis Times. The riddle of the new Prime Minister. And from Nigeria's Vanguard, Boko Haram kill 40, torch 300 homes in Maiduguri. And from Sudan's Vision, political forces welcome al-Bashir initiative to form National Council for Peace. Okay, so the political forces in Sudan welcome al-Bashir's initiative to form a National Council for Peace. How will this council serve the peace talks and relations in the region?
I think it will be helpful. President Bashir has been very pragmatic since has been condemned as an international criminal. He has been very pragmatic. He was pragmatic dealing with Darfur. He was pragmatic in every issue. And he needs that pragmatism to maintain his power and the stability in his own country. When it comes to Tunis, I think it's a more serious matter. Because I think in Tunis what's happening again is the issue of finishing the chances of the Islamic Brotherhood to reach and maintain power anywhere, even when they are moderate. The Erdogan example is not applicable in the Arab world. We have discovered that clearly, because there is a solid opposition in the Arab world to that option.
Okay.
Not in Turkey. They don't care about what's going on in Turkey as long as Turkey is not interfering in the Arab world.
Of course, definitely.
When it comes, because you raised three issues here.
Yes, definitely. But
we have time for the third one.
Well, no, unfortunately, I'm going to have to move to the next region, which is the last region for today, the United States of America. And starting off with the Washington Examiner. Obama, my last campaign is making Obamacare works. And from the Arkansas Democratic Gazette, millions meet qualifications for free policies. Health plans rarely pitched. And from the New York Times, Egypt's ex-president is defiant at murder trial. So as we saw in our first article, in our first headline, Obama says his last campaign would revolve around the Obamacare Act to work. What do you foresee, and in your opinion, how long do you think this would take?
Zero chance. Obamacare is an unmitigated disaster. And it will cost the Democrats, as it will cost American economy, maybe another slowdown, stagnation. And it will be the white horse on which the Republicans will ride back to the presidential office, and maybe in 2014 to the next year
the Congress.
To the Congress midterm election.
Sorry, just a small question over here. Now there are speculations, or there are claims that say that the Republicans also have a hand in the Obamacare Act and not working, and the faulty website. What's your take on that?
My take on it is when you are a president, when you are a governor, when you have the executive power, as you are in America, you have the responsibility to deal with the Congress from the opposite side. In fact, historically, every successful president was the president who was able, as governor, in an experience with Congress, from the other side to reach a deal. That president has been the most arrogant of American history and the least competent of them all. He was unable to reach agreement. Yes, he was able to reach agreement on any issue with Congress. That's unbelievable. That's unprecedented. He will be really judged with a lot of cruelty by historians, Democrats or Republicans.
Okay, and also we still on the Obamacare Act. There are claims that this act is beneficiary to some, yet a disaster to a lot. In your opinion on this, what is your opinion on this, and what do you think they would require to be done in order to have a fair for all healthcare act?
Healthcare acts can be agreed upon, and both parties can agree on intelligent, useful compromise that does not hurt the economy or the small business or the growth in the country.
Of course.
The problem is that ideological approach of the president, of its left, that is making Obamacare a problem for him, for the Democrats, and for the U.S. economy.
Okay, well, Mr. Roger Edde, thank you very much for being on our show today. Viewers, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching. This is your host, Kareem Abdul Samad, signing out.